everyone, and good evening. This is Sir Weds of the Integrated School Forms Media, and today tonight we're gonna be discussing DepEd updates and discussions on the 10-point agenda, which was discussed last Friday during the UN summit by the central office, and particularly item number 4, which talks about the teachers' workload and the direction our current administration is leaning towards in terms of how our concurrent Vice President and Secretary of the Department of Education, as well as an article that was published by TeacherPH, which is a website that has been currently popular in the field, especially to our teachers who are also getting some of their updates from that website. So without further ado, I would like all of you to share this video and please subscribe to our channel here in Facebook as well as our YouTube channel, which we are not yet publishing any new videos as of today, because this discussion is prompted by a message that was sent to me by my brother when he sent me a particular screenshot from an article which was posted in TeacherPH, which I think should have been not posted because it was a policy study and it's not yet final. When we say a policy study, we are still trying to endorse a current direction that we hope the agency or our department is going to lean towards to. So it's not yet final, and of course there is no legal basis, there is no DepEd order or DepEd memorandum that tackles the finality of the said article. So I think we need to discuss that as well. So we're gonna be showing you that article. So this is the said article. So this is published in TeacherPH, and I don't know when was this published. It is not seen here. This website is owned by somebody that I think is not from DepEd. So I don't think he is affiliated with DepEd, nor is he a teacher or a non-teaching. I'm not sure. But anyway, this teachers' workload policy study, I was part of this study. This was hosted by the planning service, which is, as you can see here in this is actually a PowerPoint presentation. This is the conclusion of our workshops. There were 2 workshops that was conducted around 2018 and early 2019. The first one was in Makati, and the second one was in Cabanatuan. And this is the conclusion of that study. So we are the office of the planning service, the office of Director Roger Masapo, is discussing what was concluded or what we were able to identify from that said workshops. So this is our recommendation. That's why it's called policy study. So it's a recommendation of what we were able to garner from the different dates or that we were all together, and from the different forums, from the group chats, messages, and discussions we did online. So it's, as I said, it's a policy study. So everything that is found here, though we are referencing different DepEd memorandums and the different DepEd orders, which are actually 10, 20 years ago, which are already outdated. So, but still, these policies are still in effect because it's not amended, rescinded, or even repealed. But the presentation wise speaking, the presentation that we did here is actually inclined towards what we are trying to establish on a DepEd order. So, sa madaling salita pa, hindi natin pwede gamitin itong mga napapaloob dito, especially itong part na to, kasi ito yung itong workload equivalency. This does not exist. Hindi ito, wala to siya. Well, what I mean is, it's not yet available. Ito yung recommendation ng Office ng Planning Director. Ito yung recommendation nila na we need to have a workload equivalency that should address the current difficulties our teachers are facing when they are trying to measure their different workloads every school year. So itong workload equivalency na meron kang heavy load, medium load, light load, category types ito. There are still subcategories. Yung key operation, itong daily, key operation, daily, everything, yung mga nasa baba niyan are basically descriptors of the heavy load. Pero yung heavy load, meron pa yung dalawang subcategory. Same with medium load and light load, meron pa siyang subcategories which are not discussed here. So wala siya dito. Kasi nga, policy recommendation siya, hindi pa siya final. So hindi siya pwedeng gamitin. Yung initial categorization na meron kang heavy, medium, and light load, ito po siya. Yung initial categorization na yan is not yet final. So teachers and schools, regional offices, division offices cannot use this as a basis in implementing a workload arrangement and for our teachers this school year or in the upcoming school years until a DepEd order will be released that should back up or support this categorization. And yes, there is a pending DepEd order. Meron po, kasi nga po, nagkaroon ng policy study. When we say there is a policy study, of course, may kaakibat siyang policy recommendation. And that policy recommendation should be converted into a DepEd order. And pending pa po yun. Kasi nga, we are still trying to finalize everything. Kasi hindi po siya maliit na bagay. Nag-iingay na naman. The root of this policy study is from the Magna Carta, which was a law that was published 1960 something, if I'm not mistaken. So it's 50 plus years ago. Ang tagal-tagal na. So it's 50 plus years and until now it's not yet there. Hindi pa siya fully implemented. So with that, we are trying to finalize everything na kaya niyang mag-sustain up to the upcoming years. So yun yung purpose kung bakit medyo natagalan yung DepEd order kasi fina-finalize siya eh. But as I mentioned a while ago, part siya ng 10-point agenda ng DepEd. So if you have seen that video, which I will also be sharing later on, wherein diniscuss po siya doon kung bakit nagkaroon itong policy study na ito. So, ito pong mga heavy workload arrangement, it's not yet final, so it cannot be used. And then, another thing, ito pong guidelines, this is what we are trying to establish for that particular DepEd order. So, wala pa po kasing DepEd order, so hindi siya pwedeng gamitin. Itong heavy, medium, easy, ito po siya ay yung categorization namin doon sa naging study namin kung paano siya mailalagay na mayroon tayong measurement sa trabaho ng teacher. And kasama ng DepEd order na ilalabas na ito is yung workload balancing table which is not yet available. And I have been given the opportunity to work on it. And until last week, we were still working on it para ma-finalize po siya. So, kailangan po kasi, napakaganda po kasi ng WBT, yung workload balancing table, napakaganda po niya. Kasi, it is not just going to talk about the measurement of workloads ng teacher, hindi lang siya mag-identify if overloaded ba si teacher, hindi lang niya i-identify kung underload ba si teacher, hindi lang niya i-identify kung ilang araw or oras or taon or buwan na ang sobrang trabaho ni teacher, may kaakibat din siyang recommendation na sana magkaroon ng katumbas yung overload ng teacher. So, paano nyo magagamit itong guidelines na ito na pinublish ng TeacherPH kung wala yung workload balancing table? Hindi pa nga yun na ilalabas. Kasi kasama din po nun, may-measure din ng table na yun kung maaari ba tayong mag-recommend na may kulang na teacher or kulang na non-teaching na item yung school na yun. Napakalaki, napakalawak nung WBT. So, before po natin i-preempt na gamitin itong guidelines na inilabas ng isang website na ito which is not even affiliated with DepEd, kaya po paulit-ulit po natin sinasabi from the very beginning of our website din, ng ating Facebook page na ito, na do not just pick items or news or feedbacks coming from different websites that are not affiliated with DepEd or are not affiliated with the units and offices that are working on a current program that should be implemented in the field. Example, kapag po sinabi nating discussion on school forms, kukuha po tayo sa isang website, tapos yung website na yun, kumuha lang din ng mga cherry pick lang din po ng mga items na nagmula din sa school forms re-engineering team. So hindi po maipapaliwanag ng maayos kung ano po yung cherry pick nila doon, kasi yung topic talaga nagmula sa isa original na Facebook group na school forms re-engineering team, na kung saan yung mga nandun ay mismong taga central office at yung team ng technical working group na nagdisenyo mismo ng school forms. At the same time, yung nangyari sa modified learners enrollment survey form, naalala niyo po ba yon? During the height of the pandemic, ang daming website na nag-release ng MELESF when it should have been downloaded from the LIS. Kaya po, yung na-download ng mga iba, yung outdated version, kasi nga nag-release kami ng test version na sana malaman natin kung yung mga data ba ay okay na, final na ba, is it working? Yung nangyari, in-implement na agad nila, kinuha nila yung mga nasa website, in-implement nila, mali-mali pala. That is why we are trying to clear this up, and as given the opportunity to work on the workload policy study, so I am informing everyone, especially the schools, the school heads po, principals and head teachers, do not use the guidelines that are being presented here. May example pa, Teachers Workload Balancing Table. Meron pa siyang example. Kasi nga po, ito, naku, ito naman talaga, no? Kasi nga po ito, recommendation siya hindi pa siya DepEd order, so it should not be used as the principle that we will be implementing this school year. We are still going to use the current policies that are being implemented from the last years, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, especially yung issue about the property custodians. Nakalagay po yun sa DepEd Memorandum 281-291 years of 2009 ba? Or kung hindi ako nagkakamali, na-discuss po doon na minimum of 2 to 4 hours ang teaching load ng property custodian. Nakalagay po doon. Hindi po pwedeng walang teaching load yung property custodian. Kung teaching item po siya, kailangan po niya ng teaching load. Hindi po pwedeng teaching item tapos wala siyang teaching load. Hindi po pwedeng ganun. Akibat ng DepEd order na ilalabas natin dito sa workload policy is actually implying that every teacher should have a teaching load. If ever the teacher has an ancillary load, it should be lesser than the teaching load. Yun yung mga inire-recommend namin dito sa policy. But until then, wala pa siyang implementation kasi wala pang DepEd order. For this particular scenario na nabanggit yung property custodian, wala pong property custodian na teaching item. Teacher ka, property custodian ka, you will still have a teaching load. Hindi po pwedeng wala kang teaching load. Kahit school or district or cluster property custodian ka pa, you will still have a teaching load. If wala kang teaching load, wala kang IPCRF. Ganun po yung kasimple. Ulitin po natin, kung wala kang teaching load, wala kang IPCRF. Ibig sabihin nun, wala kang accomplishment for the whole year because your ancillary, your non-teaching tasks are only part of the others ng RPMS. Hindi po siya part ng KRA mo talaga. Part lang po siya ng others or yung mga additional lang na mga trabaho natin. Hindi po yun yung core task ng teacher. So if you are a teacher, teacher 1, teacher 2, teacher 3, o kahit master teacher ka pa, if you are in a teaching item, you will still have a teaching load unless you would like to deviate from the policy of DepEd and civil service. Kung gusto mong gumawa ng sarili mong direction, then do it with by all means. But you will expect to have an issue with the civil service and DepEd. Yan po ang pakatandaan natin. And this is actually the end of his presentation. Oh, ito pa part na to. Kaya po na-mention natin na ang core po ng policy study na ito is the Magna Carta. Pero yun nga po, ang discussion na ito is inclined towards the recommendation for that DepEd order. So hindi po siya dapat gamitin ngayon as a basis for our workload except for the current policies that are mentioned here. Example po nito, yung mga memorandum na inilabas po dyan, use the memorandum. Do not use the explanations that were given here. Ulitin ko po, yung explanation po na nilagay namin dito, na nilagay ng Office ng Planning Director dito, are for the recommendation of a DepEd order. It is not for the purpose of using it currently on our school years for the public schools in DepEd, either it be in the elementary or secondary or senior high school level. So ito po, uulitin ko, this is a workload policy study by the Office of the Director, Director of Planning Service, Director Roger Masapol, which was posted, which was presented 2 or 3 years ago. It is already outdated. Meron na pong bagong presentation na ginawa ang Office of the Planning Director because they were already recommending this policy study for sa ating current administration, sa current undersecretary natin, ang Chief of Staff. So, kung ano po yung presentation nila, wala na pong may hawak nun. Even I, who is currently working with the workload balancing table, hindi ko po nakita yun. Kahit po ako na non-teaching, na nalabas sa central office, pero nasa DepEd, na nakikipag-ugnayan sa planning service on this study, kahit ako hindi ko nga nakita. Ano pa kaya yung mga websites na hindi naman sila kasama during the study at hindi talaga kabilang sa DepEd? Paano na lang po kaya sila? No? So, do not use this. Uulitin ko po, do not use this. So, why is this this matter very important? Kasi po, let me show you po. Kasi po dito, I will show it. Alin natin to. Kasi po dito, yan po ang presentation ninyo during the
Department of Education.
It was an event in the central office by our current Chief of Staff and Undersecretary Kamako Densing III. So I would like you to listen to the presentation. And then I will also have
Salamat sa introduction. Dito I will be introduced by mentioning some of my curriculum vitae kasi nasanay na ako for the more than 1,000 speeches, keynote messages I've delivered over 6 years. When I was at the DALG, hindi na po nila binabasa yan. Sinasabi nila the dashing and the debonair undersecretary. Nabiro lang po.
So, anyway, Music Epimako Densing III was an undersecretary under the Duterte administration, but he was affiliated with the DILG. Right now, he is the Chief of Staff and Undersecretary of the Department of Education. So, this is actually an event hosted last Friday, and maganda po yung presentation nila, and especially the 10-point agenda. I will be forwarding every part, little parts of it. Gusto ko pong makuha ninyo, especially yung number 4.
Pinapasaya ko lang hapon ninyo. Una sa lahat, I'd like to greet Sir. Kayo hong mga dumating dito when I started out with the DALG to become successful. Participatory governance is that needs to be appreciated by the public and by the people if it does not come from the people themselves. In other words, governance or participatory governance is a key component if you want to exact changes in governance. Not only in the government itself, but in the approach to the general public.
Okay, that's one thing na kailangan natin ma-remember. And that is what we are trying to parang let everybody experience sa planning service sa office ng Director of Planning Service, ni Director Roger Masapol. If you are not part of the School Forms Engineering Team Facebook group, please do so. Kasi doon po kumukuha ng mga inputs ang central office, ang office ni Director Roger Masapol sa mga policy guidelines ng implementation nito, kung nafa-follow po ba siya ng maayos, ng mabuti, according to the DepEd order or DepEd memorandum to which it is anchored upon. So, hinihingi po namin sa inyo mga kaguro na nasa public school, sumali po kayo sa School Forms and Engineering Team na Facebook group kasi nandun po lahat ng mga common issues, frequently asked questions ninyo. Pinagpupuyatan po yan siya ng central office, ng office ni Director Roger Masapol and ni Sir Jonathan Beaches, Sir Jonas, who is trying so hard to present all of these issues na ma-address po siya every day. Kung meron po kayong post, ipopost ito, sinasagot po yun siya lahat. And then we are also trying to accommodate even the isolated cases na mga queries ng ating field.
Because change, which is something that everybody would have wanted in the past years, decades, and even past administrations, can only be done if the people are part of the governance process itself. That's why participatory governance, consultations before programs are pronounced and dictated or pronounced by many government agencies must come from you. That's why this consultation process, as part of the activities prior to the UN Transformation Education Summit this coming September 2022, is very critical because all of this came from you. Government never second-guessed it because this was consulted by you, the teachers, the parents, the students, and the public in general.
Yun po yung pinakamaganda actually na sinabi. Yun yung pinakapunto ng ng presentation ni Yusek Densing, is that the policies that this current administration, this current office of the Vice President and Secretary of the Department of Education is inclined towards hearing out kung ano po yung mga hinaing ng mga taas sa baba. So, yung magiging useless po kasi yung policy kung hindi po nakaka-relate yung mga nasa baba. Tayo po na receiving end ng implementing units ng mga policies na ito, kung hindi po natin yung ma-appreciate, kasi wala po tayong 2 cents sa policy formation, nawawalan po ng purpose yung mismong policy. Hindi po nagiging mabisa ito. So this is one thing that is noteworthy sa presentation ng 10-point agenda ng ating current administration.
That's why we can say that the Philippines, in the fulfillment of its responsibility, IWAS government, to the needs of the students and the future of our country. Very close to my heart. That's why the Vice President, Sara Duterte, invited me to join her. They had several reforms. And in these reforms, I mentioned the word, let us revolutionize these reforms. Because if we will only reform, these reforms may not be felt by the public. Revolutionizing the reform will make sure that this can be done swiftly, fast, and something that will be felt by the learners, the teachers, the parents, and the public in general.
So if you actually are a member of the School Forms and Engineering Team, you can actually see that there was one post by Sir Jonathan Beaches, ni Sir Jonas doon, na ginamit yung term na revolutionize. Kasi po yung term na revolutionize, when the policy study on the workload was presented to Yusek Densing, he gave that remark na ito yung hinahanap daw nila. This should be implemented and revolutionized the teaching practices in the field right now. Kasi na meron talagang, they know, this is ito yung pinaka-appreciate ko They acknowledge the fact that teachers are not just teaching anymore. So yun yung pinakamaganda doon na na-appreciate nila and in-acknowledge nila na yun yung current circumstance and dilemma ng ating mga guro sa field.
So various kinds that exist in access to learning, and this is quite important part of the interagency task of the COVID-19 cabinet. is saying that if we are not able to address the learning loss that we have experienced in the years 2020 and 2020, the learning loss or the learning as pronounced by Secretary, their interaction on the psychological side and emotional side amongst learners is important for us to profound our learning interest in every subject matter in basic education. That's why we are making that push to ensure that by October or by August 2022, we will start with the opening of the classes, and by November 2, 2022, there will now be full face-to-face classes, whether we are in the public school or private school, to ensure that learning loss will be immediately recovered, and hopefully we will be able to recoup those potential losses in the economic side as pronounced or as disclosed by the National Economic Development Authority.
Okay, I'm just gonna pause it right here. Kasi na-mention doon na until the end of the first quarter na lang po yung blended learning. And then by the second quarter to the end of the school year, we will be going to the face-to-face or in-person classes. So, ang common na tanong kasi, paano po yung mga unvaccinated na mga learners and then parents who are very worried kasi unvaccinated nga yung mga anak nila, ano po yung maaaring pwedeng gawin nila na pwede po ba silang makasama sa blended learning or tawag nito, can they still be part of the distance learning na delivery ng ating agency? Actually, there is a program by DepEd. It's called the Alternative Delivery Mode or ADM. And if you are an advisor, familiar ka nito kasi nakikita mo to sa LIS. Merong option doon na ADM. Ang Alternative Delivery Mode is a program by our department that facilitates distance learning. And one key program of that is DepEd Order Number 1 Series of 2022. Yun po yung guidelines ng homeschooling program. So, public schools and private schools can offer homeschooling program. Kailangan lang po nilang ma-follow yung guidelines na napapaloob sa DepEd order na yun. I will not be discussing the contents of the said DepEd order, pero nandun po yun. They just need to submit the letter of intent to the division's office. The division's office will recommend that or endorse that to the regional office. And then the regional office will visit the said institution, public or private school, and then evaluate if kaya ba ng public school to offer the homeschooling program, and then they will be given the authority kung private school or permit naman para sa public school. So once we will be given that said authority and or permit, they can facilitate the homeschooling program para sa mga magulang or mga learners who are opting to go to that direction kasi ayaw pa nilang papag-aralin yung mga anak nila sa in-person classes or sa mga school. But then again, I must remind you, meron po itong guidelines, school heads, principals, they should follow the said guidelines and follow the required number of forms that should be submitted to the division's office and to the regional offices bago po yun siya ma-deliver ng isang school. Hindi po pwede na mag-deliver na kayo ng homeschooling program kahit wala pa po kayong permit. Kailangan niyo po muna ma-evaluate at mabigyan ng permit ng regional offices. The regional offices are the sole office na makakapagbigay sa inyo ng authority or permit to offer homeschooling program.
This event culminates the series of consultations that we have conducted at the national and grassroots level. Our team in DepEd, in partnership with UN bodies, has generated meaningful drivers of change to build a guidepost for policymakers, schools, and community learning centers to address the immediate impact of the pandemic on learning equipped with knowledge, skills, teaching personnel have developed during the pandemic and our learners. A living wage and benefits, quality learning materials, and comprehensive training programs and meaningful career progression. Fourth, we shall maximize contact time between teachers and learners by reducing other activities such as contests, events, and other non-teaching activities and tasks, hiring of non-teaching personnel to handle administrative tasks that our teachers will be freed from performing.
Yun ang pinakamaganda. Yun yung number 4. Ulitin po natin. Hindi kita po nun eh. Gusto ko talaga yung sinabi niya yun eh.
Progression. Fourth, we shall maximize contact time between teachers and learners by reducing other activities such as contests, events, and other non-teaching activities.
Ayan yun. Reducing contents, events, and other non-teaching activities. Bakit? Kasi yung teacher dapat focus siya sa teaching. Hindi po pa-contest yung dapat iniisip parati ng guro. Na nagiging direction yun ng guro kasi kailangan yan yun para sa mga promotions. Kung ganun po yung direction ng mga teachers natin, may nasasakripisyo po tayong learners kasi yung coaching ng teacher na pupunta dun sa kanyang participant, hindi para sa kabuuan ng kanyang klase. Yun yung isang punto dun.
And thus, hiring of non-teaching personnel to handle administrative tasks that our teachers will be freed from performing. You know,
Ang ganda po talaga. Narinig niyo po yun? Hiring of non-teaching personnel that will facilitate non-teaching tasks. Yun po yung siyang ancillary task, special assignments na sinasakop na po ng ating kaguruan. Yun yung purpose ng policy workload. Yun po yung purpose ng policy study. Kaya hindi po pwedeng gamitin yung present doon sa website ng TeacherPH kasi hilaw po yun. Napakahilaw po nun. Hindi po yun sa hilaw na mangga na pwede natin isaw-saw sa tuyo. Hindi po ganun. Yung pinilabas po nila na article doon is not yet beneficial to the field kasi wala po yun siyang visa. Para pong pinakitaan lang tayo ng pera, hindi naman pala ibibigay sa atin. Hindi parang wala. Kaya bibigyan ka ng pera o may 1,000 ka, hawakan mo, wag mo igagasta. Pera mo pa rin ba yun? Hindi. Ganun po yung implication nun. So that is why I am very, very happy when I watched this event last Friday. You can watch this in the DepEd channel, even in the YouTube channel of DepEd. Last Friday po ito siya pinublish. I will not be discussing all the 10-point agenda ng ating agency. But I want you to remember, number 4 ng 10-point agenda ng current administration is that para sa mga guro, babawasan po yung inyong mga non-teaching tasks, contests, program, so that all of you who are in the teaching positions will be highly focused on your tasks as teachers, facilitators of the teaching learning delivery. So with that being said, huwag nyo po munang i-preempt na gamitin yung ng article ng TeacherPH kasi it's not beneficial to you. But please, pray and hope. Samahan na rin talaga natin ng dasal talaga na aaprubahan na po yung DepEd order na kaakibat ng policy workload study na yon at mailalabas na po anytime soon ang workload balancing table upang po makita ninyo at matamasa po ninyo kung ano po ang naging pagsisikap ng opisina ng planning service para sa ating kaguruan. So, I think we've addressed as much of the topics and that needs to be discussed for the beginning of the school year. Hindi ko na po i-discuss yung enrollment. Marunong naman po tayo sa enrollment eh. Just remember DepEd order number 3, yung pong DepEd order number 35, series of 2022, yun po yung pinaka-latest. And then, I hope all of you will have a very lively, fun teaching experience for this school year. 2022 and 2023, I hope that all of us will still be secured and safe, health-wise speaking, kasi nandyan pa rin naman po yung pandemic, and then mayroon pa pong monkeypox na yan na lumalabas. Ewan ko kung totoo ba yan, but I think it's true, and I don't know if I'm not fully familiar with its mortality rate, but I think if it's there, we should be wary about it. So let's just keep safe, stay healthy, and as I said, please join the school forms re-engineering team. Meron din po kaming team sa ISF Media, yun pong ISF school forms na help desk. Meron din po kami nun. But we are still also part of the school forms re-engineering team. Marami po kami doon ng mga admins. And we help and address different issues that our teachers are facing in the field. If you have any other questions, clarifications regarding anything about DepEd, wag lang po yung mga trabaho ng school head. Yun lang po yung mga trabaho ng school head. Yung mga trabaho lang po ng mga teachers, we will try to help you as much as we can. So that will be it for tonight, and I guess if you maganda naman po yung naging discussion natin. Again, this is Sir Weds of the Integrated School Forms Media. Stay safe, healthy, and always enjoy life as a teacher. Maraming salamat po at magandang gabi sa inyong lahat.